waits, and Johnson scores!
Massaba's in the middle, Wednesday here could seal it, Gassman finds Massaba!
Now Bannon with a great ball in, here's an opportunity, Palmer scores! Liam Palmer has scored for Sheffield Wednesday!
We've hit the post twice, the crossbar once, and we thought it'd be a great idea to give a penalty to a striker who's devoid of any sort of confidence, hasn't scored in 1,000 minutes of football, and subsequently nearly put the ball in the top tier of Leppin's Lane End. Hello and welcome to the Wednesday Tie-Dye podcast. I'm James Mappin. Alongside me, as he always is every single week, is Mr. Matt Johnson. Matt, you're laughing.
Sorry,
there,
mate. What a fucking intro that was.
Look, mate, it's the truth. It's the truth. Matt, how did we not beat Millwall yesterday? Because we should have absolutely battered them yesterday.
I'm really struggling to work out how that Millwall side have taken 4 points off us out of 6 this season. But I'm without wanting to sound like Paul Warren here after the Derby game. Like, I am really struggling on yesterday's performance. But again, that's the Championship, innit? Like, you don't take your opportunities and you continue to leak goals defensively and you'll get punished. Yeah, that's pretty much the long and the short of it. Have a good night, all.
Do you know what as well? Someone said that yesterday. Like, we probably shouldn't have beaten Derby. We perhaps should have beaten Millwall yesterday. So actually, you know, when it comes around, swings and roundabouts, maybe you've got to take these sorts of results, haven't you? Really, we have got a lot to talk about as well, both between the main show and Extra Time. A reminder: if you do want to listen to Extra Time, we're going to be recording that immediately after this show, so you can become a member over on Patreon. It's patreon.com/WTID pod. You can see it's going along the bottom there. If you're watching, do go and check us out. We've got a free 7-day trial as well, so no excuse not to sign up if you haven't done so already. We can talk about the 2-2 draw with Millwall, which we're going to dissect. We've got the fans forum that's been announced, which takes place a week on Wednesday. We've had bids from teams in Brazil, and then direct comments from Danny in regards to transfer activity, or reading between the lines, a distinct lack of. Let's just talk about the match. Let's just get straight into Millwall. Like I said, we've got lots and lots to talk about. In terms of the starting lineup, then. This week, he made, 3 changes, I think it was. Beadle in goal, Valerie, Iofa, Bernard, Lowe, Charles, Bannon, Masaba, Windass, Gassama, and then he stuck with Ugbo up top. What did you think to that starting lineup for you, Matt? Because I must admit, I didn't expect to see Ugbo there. I did expect Windass to come in, given the heroics from New Year's Day.
Again, James, same as every week. I haven't really got a problem with it, to be honest. Looked okay on paper, considering how... This sounds so stupid. Considering how much Millwall was struggling to score, I thought it was relatively attacking. The Ugbo, Masaba and Gassama partnership was back and in somewhat of an effect yesterday. Again, absolutely no problem with it. Again, I would have liked to have seen us, as I've said all season, go with that midfield 3 to offer that, I suppose, that solidity against a side that really, as was proved yesterday, don't want the ball and are happy to sit in a defensive shape. I would have liked to have seen us have a midfield 3, but ultimately, yet again, can't complain, can't grumble with that starting 11.
Yeah, I think a little bit harsh on both Shalabar and Ingelsson. I think when they've come in and they've done a decent job and they thought they've looked really, really good, but it probably just shows that Danny's got like distinct formations and styles of play, and when he plays this formation, they just don't really fit in. And I do get that, when you've got a 2 in midfield, he's going to be Bannon and Charles. Shalabar and Ingelsson get nowhere near that. We did have the Masaba Gassama conundrum, as in, I think every time this season, and maybe last season as well, we've all said when they both play together, it doesn't really work. But I mean, we'll get into it in a bit. It was certainly attacking though, weren't it? It looked like quite a lot of people, the general consensus on socials and in the Discord was that we're going for it and we're kind of going for the jugular here.
And that's it. Is you can't be critical of him for, number one, rotating, because he's going to do that. And secondly, you can't be critical at the fact that it wasn't an attacking lineup. It was. We had Ugbo, Masaba, Gassama, Josh Windass all starting. That's 4 out-and-out attackers that you've got on the pitch. You can't be critical of it. And if you are just going to play a midfield two, yeah, you're absolutely right. You can't play Chalobah or Ingleson in that. We've seen definitely enough of Ingleson to suggest that he can't do that at the start of the season. And from what I've seen of Nathaniel Chalobah and what I saw of when he came on yesterday, he didn't disgrace himself by any stretch of the imagination, but he works better in a midfield three at the base of it. So yeah, again, completely understood it.
For me, I thought with the whole Masaba and Gassama, right before we kicked off, they've probably seen what happened against Derby, especially with Gassama with his pace. And for me, I just felt like Danny was probably going to try and use that pace to the full advantage, take full advantage of it, and try and push Millwall back as much as we possibly can. Either that, or if they do want to play a high line, happy days, we'll just get in behind them. So I feel like that was the reason from me having no tactical knowledge whatsoever, being sat having a pint before the game. That's what I was thinking.
No, I was just going to say, James, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the front three that started against Millwall away from home as well. That Masaba, Gassama and Ugbo. It was Ike Ugbo. It was certainly Ike Ugbo's first start, and I'm sure it was Masaba and Gassama either side of him because Josh Windass was dropped out at the starting 11 for that game. So yeah, again, and I understood the thinking that day. On that day, it didn't work at all. First half, I don't think anybody can be critical of the fact that it didn't work yesterday, because it did. And second half, again, we were overall the better side. But again, as I know we're going to come on to, defensive frailties, yet again, has been the problem since the start of the season. We had 2 at the start of the season. One was can't score, won't score, and also we keep leaking them. But now we fixed that, and we now just continue to keep leaking them, which is a good job we are scoring, because otherwise some of these would have been cricket scores.
Yeah, you're right. It was Gassama, Masaba and Ugbo. The only difference being it was Jamal Lowe instead of Windass in that kind of number 10. The only other difference that day when we got beat 3-0 was Michael Ahekwa instead of Dominic Iorfa, but everything else was exactly the same in terms of personnel, and we got our arse handed to us somewhat that day earlier on this year. How the times have changed and how tables have turned as well since then. Let's just go into the overall thoughts then of the game. I'm going to say it from the off. I feel like at full time, and then looking on the socials and all the comments and the reaction from the fans, a massive overreaction from, I don't want to say everyone, I want to tarnish everyone with that same brush, but it was a lot of people. And, we've hit the bar, the post twice. I felt like it was a fairly dominant display. Millwall weren't even in the game up until the point where they scored. They had like 5 or 10 minute period after they scored. All right, yes, they had a few chances, and you look at the stats and it does look fairly even, but with your own eyes, I felt like we were battering him for most of the game, and obviously, like I said, when you hit the woodwork 3 times, it says something about how you're playing. But people saying it's not good enough. It's all on Danny. Danny made a mistake here. I'm like, I think we need to add a little bit of perspective in it. And I feel if we play like that week in, week out, we are going to win far more games than we lose. And guess what? We didn't even lose the game. We drew the game 2-2. We scored another 2 goals. On a different day, we win that game comfortably.
Yeah, I think for me, it was where the blame was being levelled yesterday. We had people blaming Ike Ugbo for a penalty miss. We had people blaming the players for giving him the penalty on the pitch because it was a decision that was on the pitch. We had people basically searching for every single answer under the sun, aside from we keep conceding goals. I didn't hear anybody start levelling blame at the back 3 or 5 or the team for not defending well. There was James Beadle for not sewing his hands on and all the rest of it. And
popping on wrists.
Oh my God, that was so good, that tweet. I couldn't believe it. And then it was then the sticking to it in all the comments underneath it. I forget who it was, but I mean, if it was fishing, it was fucking outstanding.
Yeah.
But it's, again, this is, you can't not score 2 at home, especially against a side that has not scored 2 in a game since September, and not win the game. I agree that the performance was more than good enough over the 90 minutes. And again, I'm fully bought into the fact of play like that over 90 minutes. You'll have more than enough than the teams who are below you, because that's been proved over the course of the first half of the season. However, it comes down to the crux of it that we are now, and I'm not going to change my prediction. I said we'd finish 9th at the start of the season. 9th, 10th was where me and you said. I think that's where we'll finish. It's the fact that we could still be in April in with a sniff of the playoffs. And that is what is getting everybody so panicked and worked up and all the rest of it, because 2 seasons ago, it was like when you lost the game, the world fell apart. And it felt a little bit yesterday at full time like there was that same sort of reaction again in the, we should have been beating these. We should have expected to be. Yeah, we should. But also, if you'd have told me at the start of the season that Millwall are also going to finish mid-table, I'd have said, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, and I think I've seen a few comments about that as well, saying how we do need to look at the bigger picture and stuff. And I think you do, but when you're in the moment, I will say it is all right to change your change the way you're thinking about the season and stuff, and getting annoyed about certain performances. If you're consistently playing better, then yeah, why not aim for the. What's that saying? Shoot for the stars. Shoot for the moon, and you'll end up amongst the stars.
Yeah,
James. So that's the one. Why not? And also that's why it is also why you follow football, not just to moan and whinge, unless you're like the guy that sits behind me, who incidentally wasn't here. He wasn't here this week.
Nah, James, he's moved. He's in front of me. I'll not mention his name, Alan. To be fair to him, Alan is a really, really nice bloke. My word, I genuinely think he comes to football to he has said it himself, because he said at the sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here, James. He said at the end of last year.
We love a good tangent.
He said at the end of last year that he wasn't renewing, and then for Plymouth game, he was their first game, and I said, I thought you weren't renewing, and he said, it's really difficult when you've been coming for 20 odd years. And again, he's Wednesday through and through, bleeds blue and white. But he left early yesterday. I won't say how early, but he did leave early yesterday, as he does a lot of weeks.
Had we made all our substitutes by this point?
No. No. He does leave early, and he'd gone, and then his mate came and sat in front of us in his seat, and he was asking if he'd gone and all the rest of it. And he come over really positive, and I just nudged him. I went, "Is that fucking seat?" Because after 5 minutes, he was going, "Well, this is crap, isn't it? We need to be doing it." I was going, "It's that seat, I'm telling you." So if anybody is going for it, row in front of me, just seat directly to the left of me. If it ever comes up, don't buy it. You'll turn into a right negative bastard.
Yeah. You've just highlighted that comment as well, Matt. 4 games over Christmas, scored 10, conceding 10, defensively inept. It's just chalk and cheese, isn't it? In terms of those numbers. I mean, the conceding ones, I think we've done that consistently, but the amount of goals that we've been scoring recently as well. There's a little bit of positivity. We are actually putting some chances away, definitely. I'm just going to highlight a few more comments as well. Do keep them all coming in. Mark Green, great finish by Ike Ugbo. That was the finish of an accomplished striker. Alex says, evening, James and Matt, what an absolutely crazy game yesterday. We 100% need defenders in now. Let's hope DC does back Danny in the window. Also, is it true Windass only got a year contract extension? Certainly sounds like that from what he said on TalkSport. Let that one slip a little bit. We are going to be coming on to that if we have time. It might go over into extra time. Aptly named. Where do we think of that name for that show? And
I can take no credit for that, James. I can take absolutely no credit. That was before my time on this parish.
Yeah. Ollie said, happy Sunday evening, chaps. How much are you looking forward to the 15th at the Fans Forum? I'm predicting another chance here. The whole world hates me of blame game again. Yeah, I will be there a week on Friday. I kind of bought the ticket before I kind of thought about what it's going to actually be like, because
I will say now, just for anybody who is listening or watching, I am not going. I'm not driving 2 hours up the motorway to listen to a 4.5 hour dialogue to drive 2 and a bit hours back. There is no way I am doing that, because I'll just sit there after. I'll do an Alan after 10 minutes. This is shit, and just walk out.
Yeah, some people said you need to book the next day off work, which
yes. Yeah, you could comfortably still be there by 7 o'clock in the morning next morning,
and still be on question number 3. Chef Cam, the missing ingredient in football is a little bit of luck. Yeah, do go and check Chef Cam out. By the way, some fantastic videos with his perspective on the game, which I'm sure quite a lot of people will agree with. Sarah, we should have won that game without a pen and all. Just saying. Yeah, we had more than enough chances to score. Let's talk about the defence, Matt, because when is it gonna end, and how does it end? Is it just as simple as we need better defenders? Is Ike Ugbo that good that without him we're just shipping goals left, right, and centre? Because it's every single week, isn't it? We are conceding 2 and 3 goals every single game, and it would be easy to say that all goals are avoidable, but in every single one there's some sort of kind of glaring mistake. Like, we're not conceding Josh Windass 60-yard goals every week where you say, well, that's just a moment of brilliance, or the Bannon goal against Derby where he's twatted it from 20-odd yards and dipped it over the goalkeeper, and you just have to hold your hands up and say that's a great finish. All of the goals we're conceding, we're doing like the fundamentals wrong, aren't we?
Yes. And it's not just on the back five, it's a collective unit. You defend as a team, you attack as a team. Now, as a team going forward and attacking, we are doing really, really well. Defensively, it's not good enough. And it hasn't been for some time now, to be fair. There was a comment that Gary Neville made a couple of weeks ago when he was talking about the rotation in the back line at Manchester United. Shock. And I don't get me wrong, I don't agree with everything that Gary Neville says. I think he talks a lot, and some of it is obviously bound to stick. But he did say the place where you don't want rotation in your squad is amongst your defensive line. It's okay to move 1 or 2 pieces or one piece around every now and again, but you want solidity and continuity, so your goalkeeper and them can build a relationship, so you can build a relationship with those centre midfielders in front of you and your wingers and all the rest of it. How much rotation have we seen? And for me, it is purely down to bodies in the door and those who are available. Shall
I read all the players that have played in that back line then? So Deshaun Bernard, this is starts, by the way. Starts in a I want to say a league game. It will be a league game. Deshaun Bernard, Dom Iofa, Max Lowe, Akin Fumero, Jan Valery, Liam Palmer, Michael Ahekwa, Gab Otagbeo, and then you've also got Paul Valentin and Marvin Johnson to add into that. So what's that? 10 players, and the only constant in all of that is James Beadle, that's played every single league game in goal. But when you have got, Deshaun Bernard 21 starts, and then the next highest is Dom Iofa with 13. That is playing in that central defence. So Jan Valery, he's had 16. Max Lowe, he's had 17. But I suppose Jan Valery, Max Lowe, Deshaun Bernard are you 3, and then it's that other one, isn't it? The Dom Iofa, or is it going to be? Obviously, it was Akin Fumero at the start. It does kind of chop and change.
Well, your back 3 shouldn't. Your back 3, which are 3 centre, stereotypically either 2 centre halves and a wing back who's been made into a centre half, or 3 centre halves. It should not have 2 wing backs in there.
Max Lowe and Jan Valery have 17 appearances between them at centre back.
Yeah, which is absolutely nuts. And therein lies the problem. And lied the problem when me and you sat on a transfer deadline special on day before Millwall and signed absolutely fucking no one.
Breaking news, I won't be doing one this January, by the way. Given all the comments. Look, if something all of a sudden starts happening, I will keep it free. I might jump on at the time if something happens. But I think the yellow tie will be staying firmly in the draw this January.
And that is just the crux of the issue, is, Gabe Otagbeo, I know we're going to come on to his goal later on. He's done as good as could be expected for a young player coming into a first-team situation, which is less than ideal in terms of a defensive back line. I think he's acquitted himself really well, if I'm being honest. I know people will cite the Middlesbrough first-half performance where he looked all at sea. Label the other 10, 11 players who were on the park. Label the other 10 players who were on the park in that as well. Then you're talking 2 wing backs who spent the majority of their time at Sheffield Wednesday, not in the positions that they were signed to play. They've spent the majority of their time playing as a centre half, one of whom has done incredibly well there. one of whom yesterday, when played in his correct position, funnily enough, shock horror, actually made a positive contribution. And then we've had, you keep on rattling off that list, like Michael Ehekwa, who we knew at the start of the season going in was an at worst break glass in case of emergency type of centre-half. For Maywo, we should have seen this coming with his injury record. This is his third season at the club. He's had a long spell on the sideline in every single one. That's not his fault, obviously. However, we knew all of this at the start, and it's failing yet again on the recruitment.
Yeah, I just want to talk about the goals that we did concede. The first one, Honeyman. I mean, when I spoke to the Millwall podcast, Chris, who came and did the preview show, he said that the dangers from set pieces, which did include throw-ins, I didn't know that they were dangerous from set pieces from the halfway line, though, which was a shock. I thought it was funny because the lad takes the free kick. He slips, doesn't he? And there's a "Way!" cheer that goes up from three sides of the ground. And then, do you know what? I'm gonna cut them a little bit of slack and think that he's slipped and he's not meant to fizz it in as low as he actually did. I think he's gone to kind of play that high loopy one that they were doing pretty much all game. And then Windass he's gone to try and control it or do something with it when he's just got to get his head on it. Really, it's like chest high, isn't it? When he's
James, I'll say it. We have given him an awful lot of praise over the past couple of weeks, and definitely in quarters where there definitely hasn't been a lot of praise for Josh Windass. That's a defensive error, and that's exactly what we're talking about here. It's a team game. He will know he has to go and make first contact with that, because I think it's Honeyman who then receives the ball, and I think it's Shea Charles who is closest to him when Honeyman sticks the ball in the back of the net. You can see from all of our back line and the way that Beadle reacts, it's on the inside the match day. They're baffled that the ball has made it through to him, because it's just more goals where you're thinking, how on earth has that got through to him? There's like 4 or 5 bodies in the way.
Well, I think Valerie slips, so he gets pushed, one of the two, so he's not in his position. The ball kind of goes over where he is. Yep. And then you've got Bernard, which I think is anticipating Windass to deal with it. So he kind of steps up. Obviously, there's no touch on the ball, so he's out. It looks like he's trying to play someone offside, but he's out of position. Dom Iorfa does his usual, which he has been doing. He did it for was it Preston a few weeks back, where he just stepped up and got in absolute no man's land, and I think he's dropped off. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a great touch from Honeyman in the way that he controls it, and it's a good finish. But you look and
there's 4 errors.
It should be dealt with either. The first instance Windass, and then secondly, you've got two centre backs there, and then Charles, as you mentioned, and none of them get close to him, and he shouldn't be allowed to control the ball, with his feet
in the box when you've got all 20 odd players in the width of the box, and he's able to bar the idiot who's fallen down on the halfway line, like. Every single player is there, and he's able to take a touch, set himself, and find the corner. It's just there comes a point where, I mean, I will still bemoan the way in which that we defend set pieces, but there does come a point, I suppose, as a coaching setup and as a fan base, that you just have to put your hands up and just say, right, no one can do anything more here aside from you've got to defend better. Like those 10 of you outfield players who are on the park have to defend better.
But we have everyone back as well. We have everyone back every single time. We've got, there's 11 men in and around the box every time. And we just...
Go on, James.
Yeah, it's just every single week and every game at the moment, we're seeing some glaring mistake. And it's... because they weren't even in the game up until that point, and we kind of gifted them that goal to get on level terms. Which, obviously with the penalty miss, it was a bit of a sucker punch. But then they go and scored. I know obviously we've had some chances in the meantime, but we just don't deal with the ball. Again, the ball comes across for the second goal. I mean, all right, it's a decent strike. You could argue that Beadle should do a lot better with the save. I find it hard.
The second for sure.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, the second one. I find it hard to criticise Beadle just because I know he's made a lot of saves which
Boppard on wrists.
He's made a lot of saves that he shouldn't have. So when you look at it, you think actually he is due a little bit of a mistake. I don't know if Deshaun Bernard is in his line of sight, which doesn't help. But it was just at that point I thought, I knew after the penalty miss, I was like, this is the game where we're on top, we're dominant, but I looked and it's still 1-0. There was a point when I forgot that it was only 1-0. I thought that we were 2 or 3-0 up. We were just passing the ball around, and it looked, it looked like there were no real problems. We were playing nice football, and then I looked and I was like, shit, it's actually only 1-0. Like I've seen this story before. I've seen how this ends. I didn't think it would end up like that, but it did, and. Yeah, I mean, should Beadle have done better with that? Yeah,
but again, another prime example of why you should all go and check out Chef Camp's content. He's got plenty of credit in the bank, and he's made a great double save in the first half. He's made a number of saves in recent weeks, which has kept us in it. He was visibly frustrated after that one went in. I think the most telling sign when a keeper makes a mistake in terms of how much credit he's got with his teammates is none of his teammates turned around and started battering him. Yeah. That is the most obvious telltale sign of when a keeper is performing poorly. All you need to do is look at the Meslier mistake for Hull's goal yesterday. He makes a mistake. He's got 4 players in his face screaming down his neck about how poor it is and all the rest of it.
The best one for me was, I want to say, QPR away, Wildsmith in goal. I'm sure it was in lockdown. And Bannon is, you can hear it it's being picked up on the mics. Bannon is giving both barrels to Wildsmith when he's let one in. And you're right. You didn't see any of that, did you?
No, and there's been no cause for that because over the course of the season, James Beadle will save us more points or earn us more points than he will chuck in the back of his own net. He will be disappointed with that one yesterday. However, it's one of maybe a handful of errors that you could maybe label at his door this year. Perhaps if you're being incredibly harsh, the QPR at home one where he comes, charging out and just chucks himself onto a pile of bodies. Maybe you could argue that one at him. There'll be 1 or 2 others which he could.
Derby the other day when when the ball comes across and he's like him and I off. Neither of them deal with it. You could say,
we're talking pretty relatively anonymous kind of like goals. That is the first one all season where you've gone, should have done better. However, it's a good strike. It's down low. It's in the near post. He's probably a little unsighted by the defender who's in front of him. Is what it is. Like, it can happen.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about something a little bit more positive then. Yeah. One kind of shining light. It was great on New Year's Day. I thought it was great again yesterday. Certainly in the first half anyway. Jeddy Kasama. I feel like he's just getting better and better as every game goes on. He's starting to be that player that I thought we signed when we first signed him at the start of last season. When everyone watched his YouTube clips and saw that it was quick, it was fast, young, you're thinking he's just going to kick it and run and just burn past everyone. Obviously, we saw that on New Year's Day when their defenders were wearing, diving boots or whatever they were wearing because they could not move. He made them look stupid on that day. We didn't quite see that sort of level yesterday, but still, I thought his output was better than what it has been. He did. I don't know if he nutmegged that lad on the near side near the dugout.
Leonard.
He did make him look a little bit silly, but that's what he's got. And like I said, he's starting to show that now. He doesn't need to have 45 touches before he kind of tries to take someone on. Just kick it and use your pace, and you can get past them. And you make football look so much easier.
I think if you are looking at the reason why perhaps his performance dropped off a little bit in the second half is because Millwall doubled him, which they weren't doing in the first half. And that was because he was giving Ryan Leonard a torrid time and Ryan Leonard was going one way and that was down the tunnel for an early bath. He got him booked after 20 odd minutes. I thought that is a walking red card. I was very surprised to see Leonard come out for the second half. But then ultimately, obviously, when you see the fact that they've changed their shape so that there is always a doubled man on him when he's got the ball, which happened in the second half. And he was, I think, drew a lot of frustration from the Hillsborough crowd yesterday in terms of there was a lot of people going, he's not beating him, he's not laid it off again. But again, trying to beat two people is a very different proposition to trying to beat one. And I know that sounds like an obvious comment to make, but this is a kid who is still learning his trade. And I can't think of many times across this season, definitely either home or away, when Jeddy Gassama has been that much of a threat that he's been doubled by an opposition team. It means that little cutback ball that he often plays to Bannon or whoever's in that wing-back position just wasn't on yesterday, because there's a player cutting that passing lane off and able to come in as well. Again, I thought he was really, really good in the first half an hour, as were Wednesday. And then, much like the rest of our performance yesterday, sort of failed to really hit the heights of what we did in that first half, really. But again, I made a comment, right, obviously at the start of the season. I would still stick by it now. He's the better of the two. He has been consistently since he came in. I know Masaba's output in terms of goals and assists is often higher, but of the two, he is clearly the better footballer of the two. And he's now making consistently more right decisions, which is, really, really pleasing to see.
Yeah, I still think there's room for improvement. Obviously, I think everyone can improve. But yeah, I do agree. He's getting better. We're starting to see, like I said, more of the Gassama that I thought we'd signed. And yeah, of the two, if you said to me that, you need to let one go, even though he has got probably more goals than Gassama, and football is all about scoring goals, I do just see more in Jeddy Gassama. And obviously Danny does see exactly the same as well, because he's starting more than Masaba at the moment. Gassama is the flavour of the month at the moment, and yeah, long may it continue. I'm going to hear from Chris now from the Chat with Chaps Millwall podcast. Who asked him to give his thoughts on the game from a Millwall perspective. And then obviously we'll talk about it straight after. So I'll just play that clip now.
Hi James, it's Chris from Chat with Chaps. Just giving you my thoughts on today's game. Obviously, when we spoke in the week before, I said I couldn't see how we would get anything from the game and how we would score a goal. Obviously, drawing 2-2 gives a different flavour of that on the surface. But if I'm honest, I think we were very, very, very fortunate to get anything from today's game, even though somehow we were leading at one point. From your perspective, I think that, you created so many opportunities. I think you hit the woodwork 3 times. You missed some really, really good opportunities. Obviously, the penalty in the first half, although personally, I don't think it was a penalty. I think it was way too soft to be given. But hey-ho, maybe justice was done there. And obviously, Ike Ugbo looks like a man completely shot of confidence. So from your perspective, created lots of chances. I think you look like a good side. But you need to sort your defensive frailties out. If you put balls into the box, I just don't think you can deal with them. And that's what we did twice and scored. We were clinical. We're not normally. And obviously, we haven't scored 2 goals against any side since September. From our perspective, I thought the draw papered over a lot of cracks. We played as poorly as I thought we would. And, in essence, that game could easily have been 4-5-1 easily. You could have been out of sight. So I think the draw papers over cracks for us. There's a lot of work for Alex Neil to do. We look like a side that had no game plan, and we just look a little bit like a club in disarray. So there's a lot of work to be done, and a crucial window because we need to add some more quality. We didn't make many changes because there isn't many changes to make, unfortunately. The squad is really thin. I'm just hoping we can get a few players back from injury, make a few further recruits, and then our fixture list is a little bit more favourable after the break and the FA Cup game. So, look, for us, it's a smash and grab point. I'll take it. Any point away from home is good, especially against a side as in form as you. From your perspective, I bet you're pulling your hair out on how on earth you haven't got 3 points, and I would understand that. But it's football, and there's been games earlier on in the season where we've not got points, and it swings and roundabouts, and I'm sure it will happen for you. But all the best for the future of the rest of the season, James, and we shall see where we both end up. Cheers, mate.
Yeah, so that was Chris from the Chat with Chaps podcast. What did you make to what Chris had to say there?
Yeah, I thought I'd just couple it in with this comment, which I've just highlighted from MP Hawks, which what I was trying to get at, I think the most telling thing from it was the idea of defending better. And I think Chris highlighted that really well in terms of like the defensive frailties. I think me and you have talked about kind of set pieces. We've talked about defending from kind of crosses. We've talked about defending on the counter attack. There will be setups and plans in place by coaching staff consistently. I can't think that our coaching staff won't be working on this. But what I suppose I was meaning by the comment, and I suppose Chris highlighted it, is it comes down to individuals actually taking the responsibility and actually making consistently the right decisions. Because what we've seen so far over the course of this season is that players aren't doing so, and they are not defending as an individual and as a collective better than they have been. And we haven't seen an improvement. It's not like we've seen an improvement in terms of we've started conceding less goals than we have done. We still concede the same amount of goals that we were. The only the difference is why we've been on such a positive run is because we're scoring more than the opposition at the minute, which again, me and you have sat on here, James, and said it's exciting. But as Chris was saying from there, this is a side that hasn't scored more than 2 in a game since September. Like, you can't be scoring. I'll go back to the point I made at the top. You can't be scoring 2 goals at home against a side that hasn't scored more than 2 since September and not come away with it. And, if they'd have carved us apart yesterday, had it been, like Sunderland, second game of the season, okay, you hold your hands up and just go, all right, they've absolutely torn us to shreds there. Like, can't do anything more. Chris, it's very rare that an opposition fan comes on and has it absolutely bang on and very similar to the way in which that home fan sees it. That result papers over cracks for them because there is going to be a lot of pressure on Alex Neil over the coming remainder of this season to A, move them away from trouble, and secondly, to how do you sort that out? Because I can't all of a sudden see, from what I saw on the 90 minutes yesterday, see Millwall going on a run where they beat teams consistently 2-0 or get 3-1 wins or whatever. They are going to be a battling side that moves away from the drop zone on the fact of 0-0 draws. And we saw yesterday a side that, there really wasn't much quality there from Millwall. And that's, again, I don't want to do a disservice to them. I agree, I think, with the comments that Chris made before on the preview show about Romain Esse. I thought he was a good player yesterday, looked very lively in the limited opportunities that he had to showcase his ability. Thought Tanganga at the back for them was a very good centre-half in a poor defensive unit.
Yeah. Just on that, by the way, Tanganga's got the second most shots in for Millwall. Esse has got the first. He's a centre-back, right? So without even looking at anything else, he's a threat from set pieces, 100%. There is no other way in God's earth where he's not going to be marauding forward and popping shots off from 20, 25 yards. He's a threat from centre-backs. There was a moment in the first half yesterday, he got a free header. He nearly scored from the free header. Like, what are we doing? Do you know what? I've not watched it back. It's probably on the extended highlights. I've not looked. I said to Steve at the time, how the fuck's he done that? Like, where's he come from? Where has he come from?
I can tell you how he does that, James. It's by losing his marker, because guess what? We don't track a runner. He's really, like, it is so painfully obvious that this is now, again, me and you have made arguments, and I don't know the coaching setup, none of us do, about the merits of having 10 players around your own or in your own box defending set pieces. There must be something to having your entire squad in the width of an 18-yard area. There must be. There must be some analytics on it that say this is a better way to defend. However, from what I've seen over the course of this season as a fan with very, very limited technical knowledge on the inner workings of football or anything like that, it just looks to me like more bodies are making, more hands. It says more hands make light work. Well, that's not the case in Sheffield Wednesday's thing, because there are just too many players getting in the way of one another.
Just put Dom Iorfa on him. I mean, he's 6 foot. He's not exactly like a giant. But Dom's the biggest player. You'd like to think Dom, if the ball's coming, he could get his head on it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, put Deshaun Bernard on it. But I'd like to think he's a bit more organising. You can do your zonal marking, but just have one player that sticks on him. I want you to follow him like a shit to blanket. Just stay on him, stop him from getting a header in. And look. He's scored a few goals. He's clearly a threat from set pieces. I don't think we're the only side that he's done that. He's got 24, 25 shots so far this season, which is mad for a centre-back. So clearly he does it against other teams as well. But I just thought it would just, it was glaringly obvious at that point. And I just couldn't believe how he got free so easily, really.
No, I do completely agree with you, James. I think one thing that I will say for Dom Iorfa, and I mentioned it after Preston this time last week, I do think he's been carrying some sort of an injury because he didn't look comfortable in that Preston game. He definitely didn't look comfortable against Derby. He didn't look comfortable yesterday up until when he got brought off. It's him who loses Tanganga for that free header at the back post. There's been a number of incidents over the course of this, and I'm not all of a sudden starting to suggest that Dom Iorfa is the next coming of Beckenbauer. We know what you're going to get from Dom Iorfa. But he is making more and more errors, individual errors that are costing us this year than any year that I can think of in his Sheffield Wednesday career. And they are becoming more glaring. And without going to name names, incidentally, I thought it was very interesting that, Dom Iorfa has made those mistakes and Marvin Johnson was rested yesterday and nowhere near the squad because of, as fans have been saying for weeks, there has been two glaring issues in our back line, and both of those players have come under a lot of heavy criticism for that.
Yeah, well, maybe Ike might be starting in the next league game because clearly what happened is if you scored against Derby, you got to start the next game. So I'm sure that's not how it worked, but I did have a little giggle to myself when I saw the changes that we made. But yeah, the problem is as has been highlighted by Graham here, how do we sort out the defence if we can't sign reinforcements? Are we pinning all our hopes on Chansiri back in Danny? The problem is we haven't got any defenders. Akinfenwa was injured. We let Bambo Diaby go, which is fine, but we didn't bring anyone else in. So like that and now we're stuck with what we've got, and we just I don't want to say it's all injuries and everything else, but. No, I think struggling a bit.
I agree with you, James. I think the only way that you can sort it is to change shape, but then you limit our attacking threat by changing shape. Like if you were to go to a back four, for argument's sake, irrespective of whether we've got the personnel, we probably do have the personnel available to us to play a back four now in terms of Ike Ugbo, Bernard, Max Lowe, and Jan Valery. We probably do have the personnel to be able to. The problem is, as when we've seen with Chalobah, Shea Charles and Bannon on the pitch, is the game doesn't get as stretched because you want to have more control over the ball. So actually the game isn't allowed to be as stretched. And actually what we've been saying, again, all season, I sound like a broken record with that, is we are good in transition. And we are good when we've got pace and gaps to run at people. And those gaps don't come if you are controlling a side. We saw in the first half at Preston last week where we totally dominated the ball. We totally dominated the entire first half, found ourselves 1-0 down, go to a system change and get back in the game because there's more space for Josh Windass, for Jeddy Gassama to run at defenders. Okay, the game runs away with you, but we've seen more positive results on the back of that more open style of play. I think this season, and again, going back to Graham's point about without reinforcements, it sounds horrible. You just kind of have to live and die with it, really, because those individuals are not getting better. They're not consistently making the correct choices. Just aside from this, James, if we do get into the playoffs by some bloody miracle, oh my goodness me, are they going to be high-scoring games? I know people are like, historically playoffs are really nervy affairs. Not with us. There's going to be goals, put it that way.
4-4 thriller in the first leg. It will be something like that, won't it? One thing, though, that I said it I think I said it on in Discord, and I wanted more goals from centre-backs. We were scoring goals left, right and centre. I just looked at it and thought, if I had to be picky, we're not having enough goals from defence. You look at other teams, and I think that does come down to how good you are from set pieces, and we do, goals from set pieces are a rarity for us. And I'm like, that's where we need to be better. We need to score. I want to see Deshaun Bernard, Dom Iorfa getting 2, 3, 4 goals a season, ideally. Certainly Bernard, anyway. I think he should be getting more. Lo and behold, we score 2 goals. It's 2 defenders that score, Jan Valery and Ike Ugbo. The first one, Jan Valery, came so quick, didn't it? 4 or 5 minutes in, 6 minutes in. Great work down that right-hand side. I think it's a big tackle from Charles.
Shock.
There, yeah. Then he carries the ball, and then Masaba takes it off his toes, but absolutely fine. He's got the pace to do that. And then Masaba kind of chops it back to Valery, And yeah, one touch to control it. I don't think he really controls it. His ball's still in the air. And yeah, just swings his left foot at it, and I was directly in line with the shot. I knew as soon as it hit it, came off his foot, it was going in. Kind of looped it over the goalkeeper. Yeah, it was a great finish, weren't it? And so we're making a knack of this now, scoring first. What's all that about?
Yeah, it's a really good finish. Again, as you rightly highlighted, we win the ball at the breakdown of possession. I know Shea Charles got the man of the match yesterday. I mean, he was head and shoulders and has been consistently this season, like man of the match in pretty much most games for myself. But the way in which that he won the ball and then drove forward with it was really good, because it completely nullified that break that Millwall were having and took about 2 or 3 players towards him. Plays the ball into Masaba. I thought the ball from Masaba was appalling. The ball into Jan Valery did him absolutely no favours. He did well to actually get it somewhat under control, but it's a great finish. It's a really, really good finish. And what was it? It's the first goal he scored in 5 years, or up until that Middlesbrough one, and then just like buses, 2 have come along in the space of like 4 games.
Yeah, I think it's he didn't play in I want to say the Preston game, so I think it's
2 and 3.
2 goals in 3 games for Valery now, having not scored in 5 years, which is mad. And then just a quick one on Octobeo. I made up for him, me really. Does need to work on his celebration a little bit. I think he ran away as if we were like it was like the first goal when you're 3-0 down. Do you know what I mean? Like get the ball. All he was missing was getting the ball and running the ball back to the halfway line. I'm I'm saying this as if I've got some sort of amazing goal celebration if I was to score a goal, which I haven't. But no, he could have easily put that straight over the bar or spooned it or done anything. It did so well to keep it down, and in a moment where we're 2-1 down, it's an equalising goal. He kind of just ghosted in at the back post, didn't he? Really, it was a good little run from him.
Yeah, it's a great run. That was the thing that for me was most pleasing, is that there was actually somebody there at the back post, because how many times have we seen that ball? I know it's a good flick from Windass. I'm sure that he is going for goal and he's not trying to find the back. I don't think he's just trying to help it on. I think he is obviously trying to find the far corner. But he just had the freedom of Hillsborough. And again, as you rightly said, James, how many times have we seen a player trying it that first time and it all just goes horribly, horribly wrong? It was a wonderful finish. Did really well to watch it down onto his foot. Great first time finish. I think the celebration, just while you're coming onto it, I think that's actually a reaction to just the mentality of this squad.
Yeah.
Is that, it's not a 87th minute equaliser, first goal of my career, let's go bonkers and run off to the corner and do something that I'm going to later regret, like Jeddy Gassama when he ran off against Hull going into the corner. What's his name? He literally just turns around and starts sprinting back. Because again, like every single fan who was in the ground, it still felt like the game was there to be won. And that we were the better side over the course of it. I was really pleased that it did shut up all 720 odd like Millwall fans that were coming, because they were, to be fair to them, they were making some right racket up until the minute that hit the back of the net.
They were doing that awful chant of like, for ages. And then, they scored whilst they were doing that chant as well, which annoyed me.
If you don't like that, James, don't go to the Den, because they do it for 90 minutes solid. It's a horrible.
There's a bloke on the cop that does some. I don't know what he does, but he does some. Obviously, he's not shouting Mill, but he does something, and I'm just like, sit down, shut up. Like, it's just one man. Just look daft. But anyway, Ugbo,
come on.
Everyone's been waiting for this. But it's been the topic of discussion for the last 27 hours, 28 hours, or whatever it's been. Let's go right to the beginning. Was it the right decision for Ugbo to take that penalty? Right. I don't want hindsight. I want we get a penalty. What you thinking?
I'll give you the exact conversation I had with Andy, who sits next to me. Fucking hell, that was never a penalty. I'll give it Ugbo for banter. Oh shit. It was honestly, it was one of the most bizarre decisions I think I've seen on a football pitch, and for all manner of reasons. The main one being that Ike Ugbo does the right thing in terms of the penalties given. He then sort of wanders over to the penalty spot as if to do that. I'm trying to read minds here. No, you want it? Okay, that's fine. And actually, then he receives the ball, and you think like at that point, again, I turned back to Andy and said, "You see that Titan Bet sign that's on the top of that Presto stand?" I said, "This is hitting that," and he was like, "What?" And I said, "He's never scoring this. Never in a month of Sundays." Because again, I'm very much of the belief that if you are given a penalty as a professional footballer and as a forward, the bare minimum that you should be doing is making the keeper make a save. That is the absolute bare minimum that you should do. I'm not on about hitting the target. I'm on about make him earn his coin. Yeah. Like, it's okay to say hit the target and all the rest of it, but if it hits the post, I'm thinking, no, you have to make the goalkeeper do some work here. The minute he got the ball, the reaction that he got from everybody in Hillsborough, I mean, if that didn't tell him we are all desperate for him to start scoring, it is something else in it. Like, I've genuinely never seen that for a penalty. I didn't hear that at Peterborough when Michael Smith got the ball. I didn't hear nothing. I've never heard that from a Sheffield Wednesday fan base.
Yeah, and Joe, what I did want to pick up on that, because I thought that was, it would have been quite special for him at that moment in time, because there's been people saying, that he's not good enough and what's happened to him and he should never start and all this, that and the other. And if you think that players don't see the comments, just look at Jan Valerie's celebration with his fingers in his ears as he runs off to show you that they definitely do see what people are talking about and stuff. But yeah, I thought it was quite special for someone who's played just over half a season and hasn't hit the back of the net in any other than at Grimsby in the cup. Yeah, I thought that was great. But yeah, carry on.
On the one hand, James, it's fantastic effort from his teammates to recognise that he needs a confidence boost, and we are going to present it to you on a silver platter. Because again, I mentioned to you earlier, even playing bloody amateur football, if somebody had tried to wrestle a penalty off of me, I'd have been going absolutely ballistic. And that is something that has been levelled at Josh Windass, his arrogance and all the rest of it. You can see that this squad are more than together, because even before he took the penalty, he had a group of about three, 4 players around him who were all giving him the pat on the back and handing over the ball, and there was nobody kind of like saying, not sure, or nobody going, no, stop. He's the penalty taker. He's taking this, which is pretty much what Danny came out and said after, where he said, no, it was a decision on the pitch by the players. And that, again, I'm pleased that Danny picked up on it after and said, that is just a mark of how together this bunch are. And it really is. It was incredibly well-meaning. I could not argue with Alan, who sits in front of me, the grumpy bastard who had said right at the top, who went, well, that's fucking thick. And literally, the minute that he put that ball down, again, for anybody who hasn't watched that Inside the Match Day, please go back and watch it. The referee blows his whistle and he's midway through pulling up his shin pads, and then he stands up and just runs at it. There's not really any time to kind of set himself, compose himself. You often see players like take that big deep breath beforehand and, actually sit there and are relaxed and composed. Now, I don't know whether that was through confidence of I don't think about it, don't look at it, just get it over with and hit it. But that's what it screamed to me when I was watching it back. At the time, the penalty itself, it's not a good penalty. He makes a good contact with it, but again, going back with the benefit of hindsight and having watched all the freezes, I mean, it was never going in. Yeah. He's leaning so far back, he's underneath the ball. It's all of the things that you shouldn't do.
Well, has he gone for top bins? Where's he trying to aim it?
I don't know. It ended up down the tunnel. It ended up down the tunnel directly behind the goal. So I think he's just gone to again.
Some poor sod's walking back with his pie and his chips and. He's no longer got a pie and chips anymore because balls twatted him in the face.
Well, I genuinely, from watching it back a number of times, I could not tell you where he's going for. I couldn't tell you whether he's going for top right. I couldn't tell you whether he's going for just smash it as hard as he can down the middle. I couldn't tell you whether I genuinely could not tell you what he's trying to do, which again smacks of a player who is absolutely bereft of confidence. Obviously he misses. He then sinks to kind of like his haunches. He then has, again, I've never seen this before with a penalty miss, 4 players run round to pick him up and try and get his head back in the game. He was clearly very visibly upset. For the rest of the, 6 minutes that remained of that half, I think it was on 42 minutes with a couple of minutes injury time, he was running round like I have not seen him move ever before, trying to make up for it. And there was a bit of a shame, really, because actually I thought up until that point, he actually had played all right.
He had a decent chance as well, didn't he? That he just dragged wide of the post, which did well to kind of outmuscle the defender to get through. And that was kind of Ugbo of last season that we saw a glimpse of there.
Yeah, nice couple of little layoffs, was running channels, was linking play well. Everything that I have been sat on this podcast saying since the start of the year, we are a better side with him in it. He's just not scoring. Looked true in that first half. And then that penalty miss happens. Danny comes out from the bench at the halftime whistle to go and find him on the pitch where his head's in his hands and all the rest of it. I'm sure I mentioned it to you, James. Like, I always would look at it from what can go wrong, not what can go right in this situation. And we're only 1-0 up at home just before the break. At 3 or 4 or even 2-0 up, 100% do that because the pressure's off. At 1-0, to then go on and draw the game, not only are you, as a group collectively, going to draw all of the ire of all of the fans who were moaning about it yesterday, you are also just going to have that particular player on the floor. It was well-meaning, genuinely really, really well-meaning, but I thought it was the wrong decision and the wrong time to do it.
Yeah, well, we don't normally disagree, do we, Matt, on this podcast? But I'm going to say that at the time, right at the time when the penalty was given, I was like, if there's ever an opportunity for a striker to get his first goal, it is that one. I mean, it happened so quickly. You can't even, all of a sudden he's got the ball, and I'm like, when he's putting the ball down, I'm thinking, yeah, this is it. It's 2-0. He's got his first goal. That's it now. He's gonna score 2, 3, 4. Not in the same game, obviously, but that's gonna start the goal scoring run, and we're gonna see Ike Ugbo of old, and that's and I was like, yeah, fantastic. Obviously, I didn't know how it all come about. Obviously, by all accounts, Baz has told Josh to give it to Ugbo. It was Bannon's decision to do that and everything, which obviously Josh duly obliges. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I put a poll out saying at the time before the penalty was taken, did you think it was the right decision for Ugbo to step forward and take it? There were 1,200 votes. 55% of people said no. 45% have said yes. So it kind of split, really. In terms of that. And there's another comment here. Ugbo will come good. Our fan base need to get behind him and not on his back. The fact that we sang his name before the penalty and after, when he's took an awful penalty and missed, I think, yes, there could be comments on social media, on Instagram, X, whatever else, which is one thing, and people are entitled to their own opinion and all stuff like that. I didn't really see much of that in the ground. Nobody was really berating him, and if they were, it were getting drowned out by people singing his name, so and stuff like that. So I think from that point of view, we are 100% behind him, and we want him to score. We'd like any player that puts that blue and white shirt on. I want them to do well, to do the best that they can, to perform well, to be scoring goals, whatever the tackles, saves, whatever it is. But yeah, it's a tricky one. I mean, what happens now, Matt, with Ike Ugbo? Because he's started, I think, 9 games. He's come off the bench 10, 11 times, something like that. He's been given more than enough chances. People, I know Danny's come out and said that his stuff off the ball is good and everything else. But my stance on it all. You're a striker. You need to score goals. That's what you have to do. He's now missed a penalty. I mean, Ollie said as well, did you notice Ugbo rip his shirt off at half-time when leaving the pitch? Looked very upset. Some of the coaching staff were trying to console him, trying to calm him. Poor lad, he's visibly confident shot. Like, what happens next, Matt, with Ike Ugbo? Does he need a time out of the team? I mean, God forbid, January transfer window's open. Do we send him out on loan somewhere else? What do we do?
No, you play him against Coventry in a relatively I mean, I know there's 4,500 of us mental bastards going, but in a relatively nothing on it game, he plays. He plays, for me, a large portion of that game as well. Like he'd play 60, 70 minutes. You do not give up on a player. Like we've seen what happens when you give up on a striker who comes for a massive fee in terms of what happened with Jordan Rhodes. Like, and I know people have particular feelings about Jordan Rhodes, but ultimately, you know, we could have and potentially should have found a way to get more out of him because aside from Middlesbrough before that, we managed to. You don't give up on Ike Ugbo here because ultimately, I think if we go back to the start of the season and the way in which that we were playing at the start of the season, I think there's only one forward at the club, and I'm including Kadamatri, who's out on loan, who can play in that system, and that is currently Ike Ugbo. I think you just have to, as a coaching staff and a playing staff, you have to rally behind him. Fans, and 100% I agree with you on those comments from yesterday, James, in terms of the backing that he received yesterday when he missed. The backing that he received when he missed was outstanding yesterday. I think you just have to continue to back him and continue to give him opportunities. And if he doesn't score before the end of this season, so what? Like, it's not ideal. Like, I'm not sat here going, do you know what? It doesn't matter. It's fine if he doesn't score. You have to keep presenting him chances because what do you do otherwise? Like, how bad would it be, say for argument's sake, if you know, people were saying yesterday on Radio Sheffield whilst I was driving back through, well, sat in traffic, people going, you know, he needs time in the under-23s to go and get some goals. And whilst I understand the meaning of that, that is sending quite a big message to a player who was instrumental in keeping you up last year. What do you do then? Just pin all your hopes on all of a sudden Michael Smith starts doing what Ike Ugbo has done. And don't get me wrong, Michael Smith has been much better than I expected this season. But in terms of footballing ability and again, what he brings to the team, you need that alternative option. So you've got to keep playing him and you've got to keep assisting with him. One thing I will say is when he does score, oh my God, the roof is going to come off wherever it is. And no matter what the scoreline is, I think we could be blooming 3-0 down and he scores and everybody will still, it won't just be a, he could score in the 90th minute and we will all go fucking ballistic for him.
I think even Beadle will run over from Gotten and join in with the celebrations. You know what I mean? Knee sliding and everything. You know, he'll be he'll be doing stuff like that. I mean, Jordan thinks he's going to score the winner against that lot in March. I mean, if he does, if that is his only goal of the season, then what a goal that would be. Right, I'm going to read out some of the three-word match reviews in a second. See if you just highlighted that one. I'm going to highlight this one first, actually. A word on the atmosphere. This is from Ben. A word on the atmosphere yesterday. It was absolutely embarrassing. Nobody willing to get behind that team. Tried multiple times to get songs going, but nobody willing. Utterly pathetic. Ben, you probably must be sat on the south stand with that one. Although the South Stand did get involved with the light show on New Year's Day. I don't know if you saw that, Matt, but...
I tell you what, fucking hell, James, did that put pay to it yesterday when people on the north... Hey, everyone, you keep criticising the South Stand. Everybody started... Couple of people, phone cameras yesterday and the lights were going. Millwall scored 2-1. You see every phone camera just slowly go down. Honestly, absolutely ridiculous. Can I put out a public plea now? Please fucking stop it. It was great at Brighton. I don't want to see it again.
Yeah, I'll preface that a bit. If you're under the age of 10, it's all right. You can carry on doing that.
No,
if you get...
teach them young.
Ben also goes on to say, as for the several thousand walking out when Millwall second goal went in, I hope those stay away from the club. Ridiculous. I'm not getting on my high horse again about leaving before full time. Everyone, those long-term listeners of the pod know my thoughts on all of that one. But yeah, there we go. Right, let's read out some of the three-word match reviews. Gary said didn't take chances. Matt's gone with should have won. Ben pissed it away. Bouvet, playoff 3 points. Is it 3 or is it 4 now? I think it's 4 now, isn't it? Yeah. 4. Ewan, 2 points dropped. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? We've gone behind, so you think it's a point gained. But I do agree with Ewan. I've come away thinking we've thrown that game away, really. So I agree with that one. Another one, 2 points dropped. That's 2 points dropped. 2 points dropped. Chances not taken. Dave Sierra's gone with centre-back needed. Yep, we know that. Dino Ugbo, poor again. I think I agree with what you said. I thought Ugbo did look all right other than scoring a goal. But yeah, I suppose that's recency bias with missing a penalty. What that does to you. Mr. Bondosaurus has gone with dreadful defending again. Matt Summerhill thrown 3 away. Lortz has gone with get Cads back. Do we recall Danny Cadamartri?
That'd be a turn up for the books. Off the coaching staff at Sheffield United, straight into our first team.
Old Zena, must be 40 odd years old. Can he still do a job up front?
Chuck all of the Cadamartri family in.
Imagine that.
Galen Cole, Bailey, Danny, chuck them all on.
What a front four that'd be.
Someone will score.
Do we recall Bailey Ty Cadamartri to give him his Sunday name? Do we bring him back?
Depends on what happens in the next 20 odd days, is the honest answer, where I sit with that. I was firmly in the camp of before this window opened, no. As we're going to come on to Danny's comments post-match, you may have no alternative based on the incomings because, centre-half is the absolute primary must go and get. Need a forward. And if you're not going to go out and pay the money for one, go and get him back. I mean, I had somebody yesterday mention about Malik Wilks. They were like, he's another option. And I thought, fucking hell, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I'd rather play Michael Ehekwe on the wing than Malik Wilks. I'll read a few more out. Blockley's gone with just can't defend. Chris Outram could be better. Dan Langton couldn't hit barn door. He's put a little hyphen in between barn and door, which I'll let you off, Dan. It's fine. We'll count that as three words. I looked, actually, their keeper didn't make a save.
No.
Didn't make one save yesterday. I mean, look, when you've hit the bar and then the post and then the post again, you're getting close, aren't you? If had those have gone in, but yeah, I looked at that and thought, when you think back, you go, did his gloves weren't, the only mucky he got on his gloves were picking the ball out of the net twice. I'll read one more. Stuart Vaughan, lose, win, draw.
Yeah, and boy, does that sum it up.
It is, isn't it? That is exactly what we're like so far this season. Right, let's get on to, let's talk about Danny's comments then after the game. He was speaking to Rob Staten, of course, on Radio Sheffield. It sounds like, again, that he's sounding out Dejphon Chansiri. He said that we could ask him, a week on Wednesday about transfers and things like that. It's almost like is he goading him a little bit? Trying to taunt him into doing something, or is it just the visible frustration from conversations that he's been having with the chairman? Obviously, we don't know any of this, but we can only go off his body language and the words that he presents when asked certain questions. But yeah, he was quite direct with some of his comments, weren't he?
Good. He was incredibly direct. I'm pleased somebody is being straight talking in this situation, even if it is, and I do think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle of both of this. And I am not the chairman's biggest fan at all, but I do think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle of it. Going on to the chairman first, Moore defended him. Carlos defended him. It's been really pleasing to see in the past 2 weeks someone sticking it on his toes, like really seriously, basically coming out and hinting at exactly what the fans are all thinking. This division is wide open aside from maybe 2 or 3 teams right at the top of it. We are 3 points, it's 4 basically with goal difference. I think we're 11 goals or 12 goals away from it, so it's 4 points. There is a real opportunity to go out, invest in this window and make a push for that top 6. I think if you're him as a manager, you should be doing everything that you can publicly to put pressure on the chairman to dip his hand in his pocket and spend the money. Do I think that the chairman has probably told him a budget and he doesn't like it? Yeah. Now, I wouldn't like it either because I think that budget is going to be fuck all.
Yeah.
But
that's commonplace, that, isn't it? You know, managers want 100 million. Chairmen don't want to spend 100 million. Like that conversation must be had in every single club up and down the country. That, you know, I want this, and the chairman goes, well, actually, you're gonna have to do this, and they probably meet in the middle or wherever. That I don't think that's kind of uncommon to just Sheffield Wednesday. We might go about it probably a little bit differently. You probably don't get direct line with the owner of the football club like we do.
Yeah,
you're probably going through
probably a few
else.
more people.
It probably gets filtered down a touch before it gets to that, but it's not uncommon. But he just, the way he answers the question. The other one was, is there anything in the pipeline? And he just comes back and says, no.
Might drop headphones off straight out.
Yeah. Now it could be telling the truth on that one, and there might not be nothing in the pipeline. But it was, for me, it was just the one word answer, no. It wasn't the whole, you know, politician's answer where they just kind of skirt around the question and go, we're constantly looking, we're doing this, that, and the other. It was literally no, which I thought was quite damning. You've highlighted this one from Owlsman. It's a golden opportunity for Chansiri to help as much as possible. It's the only way he is going to get his money back. We were sat here saying something like that at the start of the season. Remember when I said this could be his one season to really go for it? You know, we've got an opportunity with this manager to actually do something special, and if all the stars align, and we, God forbid, we get into the Premier League, you know. But I was saying this at the start of the season, like, and then he can then move on, sell the football club. The club's worth exponentially more than what it's worth currently at this moment in time, and it makes from what was a terrible situation into a lot better. And he walks away. He waves goodbye, and that's it. We move on as a football club. And you know, we've got to this point now, halfway through the season, and we're a stone's throw away in a poor Championship, you know, season. I think quite a lot of people have said the same thing. He has just got to dip his hand in his pocket, and because, you know, the accounts came out, and Kieran Maguire, when he's, you know, looked into him, and he's saying, you know, one of the cheapest squads in terms of wages and everything else in the whole league. Now, on one hand, you could say, well, that's really positive that we're getting, you know, we're getting a tune out of players that aren't not on, you know, big wages, and that is a positive to look at. You know, being more efficient, especially when we're being throwing money willy-nilly. But you do get what you pay for ultimately, and you know, we are punching well above his weight. I feel at the moment. I won't say well above, but you know, to be this close with it into, you know, to the playoffs is not where I kind of thought we'd be at this moment in time. I thought the gap would be a lot bigger.
Yeah.
We need some better players. Like, thanks everyone that's got us to this point. We just need some better players to take us into that next step. And unfortunately, they cost money.
Correct. And when you talk about this division being a really good opportunity, just take a look at who's in the bottom three currently of the Premier League now. Ipswich, Leicester, Southampton. Those, in my opinion, will be the three that went down. The three promoted sides will come straight back down. But let's say it's one of them survive. You're looking at Wolves, Everton, or Palace. Oh my God, if one of them drops into the division, everybody's in trouble.
Yeah.
Because they are established Premier League clubs with huge budgets, ability to attract players. I know people will go, well, Wednesday's bigger than Palace. Okay, cool, but it's in London and that attracts players. Yeah. Wolves, last time they were in this division, just threw as much money as they possibly can at it to get out. I mean, Wolves, I think, will be fine now with the managerial change. If Everton come down, because they've been flirting with it for a while, oh my good, well, there's your league winner for next season. Like, pencil that in now. Let's then say, because one of them will fuck it up, Leeds or Sheffield United stay down. Now what? Because there's 4 gone. Like, there is 4 playoff or automatic promotion spots immediately gone. Like, straight out the bat. It's then the rest of the division scrapping for 2 places, and we're in a similar position to what we were in last year, where the playoffs, even if we'd have been good last season, the playoffs were unobtainable. We were on an absolute ridiculous run of form from October, from when Danny came in, and we were still 8th. Like that is as close as you could get. This currently where we are, without that level of investment, this is where the ceiling is currently. Like this is where it is. If you go out and you invest, as you said, you bring in better players, the ceiling is higher this year because of the quality of the league. Next year, just to maintain this position, you're going to have to go out and spend, because it's all going to concertina down and be a lot more sort of like that season where we finished, I want to say second season, where there was like us, Newcastle, Brighton, Villa. There was all of those, like those quote unquote big teams that were in the league. It's going to be a really difficult division next year, the same way as it was a really difficult division last year. Just going back to the point that I made about, Danny Röhl coming out and saying no, like straight to the point. The reason why I mentioned Moore and Carlos is because you said it. They gave politicians answers because they defended him and they kept the heat off him, and they took all the heat for the chairman previously. If you think about, like this time 2 years ago where we brought in Aidan Flint and whoever, he was coming out more and going, we're trying constantly, we're always speaking to players, all of that normal shit that they go out and peddle. Carlos did exactly the same for us. We're always trying, we're always evaluating players. Danny just coming out and going, no, gives you an indication of how far apart he as a manager and the people who control the purse strings at Hillsborough, whether it's Chansiri, whether it's all those thousands of advisors that he has apparently, are apart on what they think is possible for this season. And it's a glimpse behind the curtain that you don't often get.
Yeah, my worry is that he's being promised the world.
Yeah.
They had contract negotiations in the summer. He signed a new deal. I would have loved to see what's on that, or what the conversations were between the two to get him to actually sign that new deal. Whether he had been promised all these things and then now it's come to it and they're not there for whatever bullshit reason. Chance here is going to give, and maybe Danny's looking. He's obviously frustrated with the goals that we're conceding. That will be on his shopping list. Some ball playing centre backs. One, to play the football that Danny wants to play first and foremost, and two, just to be better at defending. As to quote you earlier on in the show. And if the money's not there, if he's got targets, he'll know how much these targets cost. He'll know the wages that these targets are on. He'll have perhaps spoken to agents and stuff like that. And if that's nowhere near, and he's having to go down his list, I think that's the reason why we didn't sign a centre back in the summer. He said he wants to sign, and he said it again recently. He wants to sign players that can go straight into the team, as in. That are going to make an impact and play. You're not signing someone just to feel the way around and potentially play a few games here, there, or a bit of a backup. He wants someone to go straight in there, and I think that's why we didn't sign one. We let
Mason Holgate.
Well, that's one. But we let Bambo Diaby go, and then clearly the ones that we could sign were no better than him. Or no better than what we currently got. So Danny obviously thought, well, what's the point? We'll just stick with Otubeyo. We'll use him and utilise him, which that's a totally separate thing about using youth players and stuff. But and my worry as well is that Danny could leave. Or we've seen contracts being mutually terminated. I feel like he backs himself 100%. I think he's confident in his own ability. Clearly shown that last season with what he did. But that is a distinct worry, and it is a worry from other fans that I've seen commenting that he could just leave the football club and then where do we go?
I mean, contractually, does Danny leave? No, because he signed a 3-year deal. So there is something that he was clearly happy with, whether that be the love and adulation that he gets from the fans, whether that be the connection that he has with his team, with his coaching staff that he's built here, with the city. I don't know. Does he start entertaining every offer that comes in for him by batting his eyelids like Corberan was doing at West Brom before he eventually left for his boyhood club?
I think Corberan applied for McDonald's down road, I think. For
honestly, absolutely. But again, from having a West Brom connection, he was doing that for 18 months before because there was broken promises from the board. I'm not stupid enough to think that I mean, if you're Danny Röhl now, you see out this season, and your stock has never been higher. It was high last year. It's never been higher because everybody in the division who pays attention to it goes, "My God, what a job he has done there." And then in the summer, as you're right, like, I mean, personally, because of my outlook on life, I would never just walk out of a job with nothing just to kind of fall back on. But let's say he does. He's going to be the first in line for, at worst, another championship job. And that's going to be a top half championship job. Like, that's the worst. And that's as bad as it's going to get for him. It is, you know, if anyone is on the side of the chairman and kind of like on that side, and he thinks that, you know, Danny's being difficult and he has backed the manager, and you know, like, the feeling there is he shouldn't be doing that. All right, you just wait if we sign nobody, because if you think he's bad now, just wait. Like, because he was depressed in January last year when we signed 4 players. Yeah. Do you remember, like, in that run up to kind of like the end of it, and he was going, "Yes, difficult window, really difficult." And he was genuinely really, really downbeat. If you think that was bad, wait until this, where he's got a genuine sniff at an opportunity of getting into the playoffs and doing something that even the most ambitious of Sheffield Wednesday fans, that was the absolute ceiling on where you'd have seen us go in this year. We're in a position to capitalise on genuinely making that even a reality coming into April. Even if we don't get there, you know, it's still been an outstanding season. It's just a case of now, what do you do? Yeah. Like, what more as a manager can you do than put public pressure on, then get the good results that he is doing? Could we as fans make Chansiri's life a lot more difficult? Of course we could, but we're going into a rabbit hole that pitches people at either side again, and it makes going to a match not the best experience, because there are people who were shown during the protest last year who have really strong opposing views to people who protest the chairman.
Yeah, I mean, maybe as well, all the frustrations borne out to one not defending again, because obviously let's not forget these comments are coming immediately after a game where we should have won and we didn't. You know, the other comments came after the 3-3 draw against Borough, which were great that we'd come back from 3 goals down, but we conceded yet another few goals. So maybe, you know, I think was it Ronnie Edwards who were apparently that was one of the players who were wanted. He was one of the top targets. January the 1st. Boom.
That went well. That went really well.
Yeah,
but Go on, James.
Maybe it's all that frustration that's come out, and he's just, you know, it is his first managerial job. It's his first. All right, he's been doing it for over a year now, so you'd like to think he's better at it. English isn't his first language either. I'm trying to cut him a little bit of, you know, trying to give it another little
balance
view onto it. Why he's saying these things when it perhaps might not be the truth. And I think you probably hit the nail on the head. I think the truth is probably, it's not exactly what Danny's saying. I think he's quite clever in how he's coming across. But you've put one up there from Ollie. Remember years ago when Chansiri gave the question to fans asking about paying high ticket prices for more investment in the squad? Well, the prices are still high, but the investment not so.
Well, that's just to go back onto that Ronnie Edwards point that you were just highlighting there, James. The reason why I pulled that Ollie quote up is because that is exactly it. You are honestly telling me, with the connections that our manager has with Southampton, that the job we are doing with developing Shay Charles from Southampton on loan this season, arguably going to be our player of the season this year, you're honestly telling me that if we hadn't gone into Southampton and said, we'd love to take Ronnie Edwards off your hands, they'd have gone, do you know what, fuck it, we're going to send him to QPR instead. Of course they wouldn't. They'd have gone, yeah, we'd love you to have him. Please take him.
Yeah, you see what the job they're doing with Shay Charles and how he's come along, just do exactly the same with Edwards.
He would play week in, week out, because at present we have one fit centre half experienced and a kid learning his way in the game. Yeah. Now, if Ronnie Edwards could get over his PTSD of the miracle of Hillsborough, we'd all be all right. But it's, you know, it's a really obvious and easy thing. And again, I think, as you say, I understood the link. And if there is even some sort of shred of truth in the fact that we were after him, and Southampton have chosen to, he has gone to QPR over us, also looking at the league positions. It's baffling. Absolutely baffling, and it all points firmly to the chairman's door.
Yeah, before we wrap up, reminder, we will be talking about the fans forum or kind of questions that we need put into him, and also the Josh Windass speculation rumour that is going potentially, or the bids coming from Santos. We will be talking about that on Extra Time, so do make sure you check that out. Patreon.com/WTID pod. That episode will be up. We'll be recording it immediately after this, so in an hour's time you will be able to listen to that one. But before we do finish, say worst case scenario, we don't bring anyone in January. We have dry January, like everyone else.
Well done.
Like everyone else up and down the country, staying off the booze, we're staying off the transfers, and we don't bring anyone in. Where does that leave us? If the squad we've got now is the squad that we have to continue with for the rest of the season, I mean, I think we've just got to kiss goodbye to any sort of playoff ambitions, personally.
Yeah, I agree with you, James. Personal opinion is the ceiling is where it currently is. You're outside, always looking in. And that's, for two fans who at the start of the season said this would have been a successful season, it is a successful season, but it's always going to be tinged with that level of, could have pushed on. But again, so far, there's no criticisms whatsoever that can be of the playing staff and the coaching staff in terms of what they've shown over these first couple of games. It's now over to the chairman to back him and see whether he is actually as ambitious as he's always claimed to be about pushing the club towards the Premier League, and that's where I want to get back to. If he's not and he's happy with this, fine. I just really hope he hasn't sold players and coaching staff a dream of, I will support you.
Yeah, do you know what as well? I think for me, like I said, I do think we're not going to get playoffs. I think injuries will probably be a bit of a worry, because we have had to use. I know Johnson was rested. Obviously, he'll have a nice long rest until his next league game, which obviously should and hopefully will help him. But you're playing Max Lowe every single week as well. He's playing probably far too many games, or more games than what he probably thought he'd be playing. Again, Shea Charles, Barry Bannon playing every single game every week. There's a lot of players that are having to do that, and not only that, we're asking them to perform at the highest level throughout the whole season. I always find football strange in that, I used to follow cycling. I used to do cycling quite a lot. And cyclists pick out certain events that they're going to be at their peak physical fitness for, the Tour de France, for example, something like that. So they do all their training, and then they're going to be at the best for that tournament, or that competition. Whereas in football, the season runs from August right up until May. Like there's hardly any downtime, but yet the players are expected to be at the top of their game every single week, and that level drops, and us fans are on the back. Why are you not good enough and everything else? And the players do need a rest sometimes, and I think Danny wants to do that. He just can't, because he hasn't got the players to do that. Now Shalabar's come in a little bit. I know he came on for Charles, which again people thought that were a bit strange, but as much as Charles has been playing well, obviously has done, like you said, player of the season already. Yeah, you've got to. I think the reason why he did that is Shalabar, he still needs minutes, because he might need to be called up on, fairly soon. If you pick up an injury somewhere, you want him to have had as many minutes as he possibly can, whilst not really, with like kind of no detriment to the squad. So yeah, I feel like if we don't bring in some, the defending, it might get better, but we need someone that plays centre back. Like let's stop putting square pegs in round holes. How many times have we said that over the years? And we're doing that. We're doing that again. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Like I said, I will be there a week on Wednesday. Hopefully, we have made some signings between now and then. Does seem like a really odd time to have this fans forum, bang in the middle of January, bang in the middle of a transfer window. But hey ho. Right, let's wrap it up there. Let's go and record this Extra Time episode. Massive thanks everyone for watching, for listening. It's been a great episode. As it always is. I like to think we have been positive, but we can't be positive about the defending. we just can't, not at all. But yeah, thank you very much, everyone. We're going to finish now, and we'll see you all next time. Cheers.